Hello and welcome to Brodual. Today we have Ultimate Combat 3.0. This is an overhaul for Skyrim that aims to offer a more action-oriented combat system. It achieves this with a host of new combat animations, abilities, and even boss fights. We first featured the mod all the way back in 2013, but last week a fully revamped 3.0 version was released. This has completely renewed the mod, offering new animations, features, and a lighter script load. Ultimate Combat offers many features similar to the other big combat overhauls, but what really sets it apart from the rest are the new attacking moves and animations. There are new attacks used by various humanoid NPCs, including humans, draugrs, skeletons, and the Falmer. There are over 20 new attacks that they can take advantage of, which can be anything from a charging dash attack that can break through your guard, to a combination of quick strikes that can deal heavy damage in a short time. This instantly adds some extra depth and spontaneity to melee combat. It'll no longer just be a stream of slashing and blocking, but now the enemy might catch you off guard with a new lunging stab, or a spin attack that you can't block. On top of that, enemies now also have the ability to dodge incoming attacks with a rolling dodge, or a sidestep. Ultimate Combat ties all of these new moves into its extension of the vanilla combat AI. So enemies are smart enough to know when to dodge, or when to use the new attacking moves they have in their arsenal. They'll also generally block, bash, and attack more effectively. NPCs with allies will now work together in interesting ways. If a group has a mage, they won't just barrage you with destruction spells, but instead they'll switch to restoration to heal their allies when necessary. Also, if one of their allies gets knocked down to the ground, the more tanky melee enemies will run up to protect them, shielding them from attacks while the mage can heal them back to full. This again makes combat more interesting, since the NPCs will react more realistically to the wider battle as a whole, and then adjust their fighting style to fit the current situation. It can also just be interesting to watch it happen, whether it's one bandit helping another, or a giant guarding his other giant friend. Speaking of giants, they make up one of the new 3 reformed vanilla bosses. Giants, dragon priests, and dwarven centurions have all been given unique attacks, abilities, and behaviours to offer more diverse boss fights. Dragon priests have been given a whole new arsenal, including a new shockwave ability, a magical beam that follows its target, and a water column that summons suddenly under a target's feet. They also have the ability to dodge incoming attacks with a new warp spell, making them even more slippery than they were in vanilla. Dwarven centurions are now susceptible to unique location-based damage. Attacking their back repeatedly will force them to perform an error check, making them unable to attack for a short time. A centurion's chest is now also weak to long-range projectiles. However, despite these new weaknesses, a centurion is a force to be reckoned with. This is partially thanks to a new selection of attacks, including an unblockable and almost undodgeable spin attack. Once certain conditions are met, they can also move into an overload mode, which increases their attack speed and damage, as well as opening up a new deadly special attack. And finally, giants have also been given a bunch of new attacks, including a new lunging jab and an AoE swing that can send you and your allies flying. Repeatedly poking away at a giant will make him very angry, eventually sending him into a rage where he has increased speed and damage. When filled with rage, he'll also use a deadly new attack. These enemies were already fairly unique in vanilla, but the added depth makes them feel truly like bosses. The rest of Ultimate Combat's features are designed to fix various issues in combat, or to assist the action-oriented style it's aiming for. One of its more significant features is its new stagger system. Like a lot of other combat overhauls, this opens up staggering for the player, so if you get hit by a power attack, bash, or bow attack, you'll probably be staggered. However, Ultimate Combat also adds a form of stagger resistance in the form of poise. This acts as a sort of balance system, which takes into account a target's weight and armour, as well as the attacker's weapon of choice, before deciding if the target is staggered. As a target takes damage, their balance will get worse and worse until eventually a heavy attack will force them to lose their footing, and then they'll become staggered. Once they're back on their feet, their balance is reset and the threshold is increased. This makes it impossible to repeatedly stagger the same target, effectively removing the infinite stagger loops that can happen with other combat mods. An effective way to stagger a target is to perform a new timed block. This can be performed with a physical or magical shield. It requires you to hold up your guard in the second before an attack hits. If you're successful, a small visual effect will let you know, and the attacker will likely be staggered. This is still dependent on the poise system, so if the attacker's balance is high, they might not get staggered. But timed blocking is still effective, because if done correctly, it blocks all damage and doesn't drain any stamina. To keep ranged combat interesting, the mod adds a lightweight form of locational damage. This lets you strike an enemy's weak points to either deal more damage or weaken the target in other ways. A headshot will deal extra damage that scales alongside your skill of archery, whereas a strike to the elbow will reduce a target's accuracy with a bow, as well as weakening their physical and magical damage. And finally, a strike to the knee will decrease their attack and movement speed, potentially even ending their career as an adventurer like you. Other smaller changes were made to further assist the new style of combat. NPCs have had their turning and tracking speed reduced, so their attacks won't unrealistically follow you mid-animation. There's still some tracking, but they won't be able to perform 180-degree spins mid-attack like they can in vanilla. The mod also applies damage bonuses based on the speed and direction of targets. So if you charge full speed into an enemy attack, you'll receive significantly more damage than if you were just standing still. The opposite is also true, so you can step back to soften the blow. Both the player and NPCs can now also block immediately, even while attacking. This is especially handy alongside the new timed blocking mechanic. And finally, you might have also noticed the new swinging visual effect in certain parts of the video. This is a new optional feature that adds a slashing effect to the player when you swing a melee weapon. Keep in mind that many of the mods featured can be toggled on or off or tweaked in the mod menu. By toggling the right features, you can make it compatible with other combat overhauls like Wildcat. So you can have the lethality of Wildcat with the new attacking animations of Ultimate Combat. If you're interested in expanding on the idea of an action-oriented combat system for Skyrim, then you should definitely check out our Dodge Attack Commit video. That'll show you how to add a dodging mechanic for the player, as well as how to remove all tracking for NPC and player attacks. This makes combat feel more like Dark Souls, where once you start an attack you have to commit in that direction, which makes dodging an effective and essential part of combat. And that's it for today's Spotlight. Everything you need can be found in the description down below. As always, be sure to leave endorsements on any mod you enjoy, be sure to check out g2a.com, and thanks for watching.